and then they were also dirty, and then in the grooves, dirt was, I guess, caked, for lack of a better term, in those grooves.
And when you say reddish brown stains, what do you mean by that?
The suspected blood stains.
Did you take measurements at the scene?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you, first starting with what you marked on your evidence marker as your evidence marker 1, and while we're talking about evidence marker 1, I'm going to approach you with some of the evidence. Do you have gloves?
Yes, I do.
Would you glove up, please?
Yes.
And may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Special Agent Stewart, we're going to start with marker 1. You already told us it was an Airpod.
Yes.
Was it on the trail or off the trail?
It was off the trail.
Approximately how far off the running trail was your marker 1?
That was a little difficult to determine because it was hard to see where the trail actually ended and where the road started, and the I guess like the leaves, because the leaves were so thick in that area, but it wasn't far.
So when we see leaves in this photograph states 55, could you also then point for the court where is the marker 1 on this chart?
Yes.
At the bottom of 143. Yes. And may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Handing you what's been marked for 6, do you recognize states 86?
Yes.
What is it?
It is the Airpod.
And if you keep your voice up so Madam Court Reporter can hear you, and you can take it back. Okay. And is the Airpod in the same or substantially same condition as it was when you collected it on the 22nd day of February 2024?
Yes.
State we move to admit States Exhibit 86. Request permission to publish.
No objection.
86 is admitted.
May I publish?
Yes.
Okay. The distance, I'd like to ask you, from this trail, from where you marked 1, from your marker 1 to markers 2, 3, and 4, what is that distance?
64 feet, 11 inches.
And you measured that day?
Yes.
The distance from where you marked 2, 3, and 4 to where Laken Riley's body was found, what is that distance?
13 feet.
And the distance from marker 8, and what is marker 8 again?
The phone.
The distance from Laken Riley's body over here at 5 and 6 to the phone is what?
I believe it's 54.7 or 57.4.
Over 50 feet.
Yeah, it's over 50 feet.
Thank you. I want to go on to your evidence markers 2 and 3. What were those?
This was evidence markers 2 and 3 represent rocks that were bloodstained, and then evidence marker 4 represents the tree that had bloodstains.
All right, before we zoom in on 2, 3, and 4, what, if anything, did you notice about this area in your crime scene sketch that you labeled 2, 3, and 4?
So in this area near evidence markers 2, 3, and 4, there was also an area where I could actually see the ground, where the leaves were significantly disturbed to the point where I could physically see the ground.
And why is that significant to you?
Because the leaf coverage was pretty thick throughout the entire crime scene, and there were no other areas where I could actually see the ground.
So what conclusions did you draw based upon that?
Based on that, and then also like her hair being very matted, some type of significant disturbance happened in that area.
Did you observe blood in that area?
I did.
And where did you observe the blood in that area?
The blood was near evidence markers 2, 3, and 4, and there was no other blood in the crime scene other than obviously where her body was resting.
State's Exhibit 62, what is that?
That is a close-up photograph of the rock from evidence marker 2.
I'm just asking why you think it's going dark.
Out, yes. Does it sleep? Is that the sleep mode?
No, it should be. We don't have that problem. It must be a connection issue, but I'm not sure. If it gets worse, we can, a lot of times it's, we'll just keep watching and see. I don't know.
That is a rock. Is this one 2 or 3?
That one is evidence marker 2,
Okay.
and there were some hairs on that rock.
What type of hair?
It looked like it was brown, yeah, brown.
63
This is the rock from evidence marker 3.
and 64.
Another view of that rock, and you can see that there's hair on it.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Handing you 2 bags. One is State's Exhibit 87. The other one is State's Exhibit 88. I'm going to ask that you look inside both of those bags, and then I'm going to ask you some questions.
Should I pull the items out?
Yeah, if you can see it to yourself, yes. Just set them on top of your lap if you could. And just do them at the same time if you could do the other one. And then I'll ask you about both at the same time. So have you had an opportunity to look at the items inside State's Exhibit 87 and 88?
Yes.
Yes.
That was just that.
Yes. Do you recognize those items?
I do.
And what are 87 and 88?
They're the rocks that were collected from the crime scene.
And are they both in the same or substantially same condition as they were on the day that you collected them, February 22nd of 2024?
Yes.
State would move to admit States 87 and 88. Request permission to publish.
87, 88.
Let's do them one at a time. I am holding. Yes, that's the first one. So this is State's Exhibit 87 I'm about to publish to the court. Which number is this in your crime scene sketch?
Evidence marker 2.
That's marker 2. '88. What evidence marker is this one?
Evidence marker 3.
And approximately what was the distance between 2 and 3?
I feel like it was less than a foot. They were very close together, which is why they got measured together.
How long did you spend at this crime scene that day?
I started at 2 and I was finished at around 8:45 p.m. So a little over 6 hours.
How much walking around this area, not only the crime scene where her body was found, but other areas around there, did you do that day?
When we got done with labeling when I got done with labeling 1 through 7, we were still looking for her phone, which is evidence marker 8. So we were still canvassing the area for that and additional items. I also looked for additional blood stains, so we went beyond just where her body was. I also had other agents search the area as well.
in and around the area of her body and in anywhere out in that forest where you walked that day, did you observe any other rocks that were similar to the ones that you collected at 2 or 3?
No.
Moving on to item 4, and if you need to change gloves, you can. State's Exhibit 66, what does that depict?
That is a photograph of the bloodstained tree.
And State's Exhibit 67, what does that depict?
The hairs that were attached to the tree.
It's difficult to see from my perspective, but can you point out the hairs that you saw in State 67? In the middle of the photograph. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Handing you now what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 89. Ask that you look at that, please. Do you recognize State's Exhibit 89?
I do.
What is it?
It is a section of that tree.
And is it in the same or substantially same condition as it was the day you collected it on February 22nd?
Yes.
So you move to admit State's Exhibit 89.
No objection.
Submitted?
And may I publish?
Yes.
Did you guys literally cut the tree?
Yes.
And why did you do that?
Because we wanted to make sure that we had the best evidence possible, and we felt that swabs were not going to be enough.
Evidence marker 5. Which is State 69 and is depicted in the photograph. What is that?
That's her jacket.
And State's Exhibit 70, what does that depict?
Her sports bra.
And had those items been cut prior to your arrival?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Handing you now what has been marked for identification purposes of State's Exhibits 90 and 91. I'll ask you to do the same thing, take a look at those items, and I'll ask you some questions. Can you start with 90? What is State's 90?
This is her jacket, and actually there was also her shirt, but her clothing was so tangled that I didn't even realize the shirt was in there on scene.
And when you said tangled, what do you mean by that?
Well, the AED pads, it had been cut off by law enforcement. The AED pads were tangled in the clothing, and to avoid disturbing any trace evidence, we didn't open it completely.
All right, and are those items in the same or substantially same condition as they were when you collected them?
Yes.
They would move to admit State's 89.
No objection.
89 was the tree.
I apologize, 90. And may I publish 90 before moving on?
Yes.
Oh, there's part of her sports bra on there too. Yeah.
Let's do them one at a time. And 90, there are 3 items inside State's 90, the bag that's marked State's 90. Item number 1 I have in my hand inside of State's 90. It's in my right hand. What is this item?
That is the jacket.
Item 2 in my left hand inside of State's 90. What is that?
The shirt.
Does this jacket have a zipper on it?
Yes, it does.
Item number 3 inside of states 90, what is this?
A section of the sports bra.
Moving on to states 91. Sorry, Mom, let me fix that. Or do you want to pick up here? Pick out. Is 91 in the same or substantially same condition as it was the day you collected it?
Yes.
State we move to amend states 91, request permission to publish. No objection.
91 submitted, we might go.
And what is 91?
A section of the sports bra.
So the other section of the sports bra.
Correct.
Thank you. That would bring us to your item number 7. Could you tell us about item 7?
So as I mentioned before, I was trying to look for additional evidence, and as I was walking the area looking for additional blood stains, I came across a dark colored stain that I suspected could be blood, so I marked it, I tested it, it ended up not testing for the presence of blood.
And that's item 73, or States Exhibit 73?
Yes.
States 50. What are we looking at there?
So this is after I put out my evidence markers, and I'm just showing generally where the evidence markers are, and then this is the area of disturbed leaves,
Show the area of disturbed leaves.
where I could actually see the ground.
So would it be in States 50 between the tree that you cut and Laken Riley's body in that photograph?
Correct.
States Exhibit 54. Let me move some of these one. What does that depict? And wait a second, I think it'll clear on its own. There we go.
So in this photograph, I'm trying to show evidence marker number 1, which is the Airpod, and then there was also a path of disturbed leaves, not as disturbed as the area near 2, 3, and 4, that I used pin flags to kind of show the track of the disturbed leaves.
And that path of disturbed leaves, did it go from the trail to where?
It went from the trail to evidence markers 2, 3, and 4.
And that path would be how long in length?
It would have been a little less than 6411.
But would it be over 50 feet?
Yes.
When you say you saw disturbed leaves and you marked them with those orange flags, what did you physically see?
So when we were looking in the area, we were trying to look for additional evidence or just evidence in general. There, like I said, the leaf coverage was thick, but you could see almost like a slight depression in that area that led from the trail to the area of evidence markers 2, 3, and 4. And it was a little challenging to photograph because of the shadows of the trees, so I used the pin flags to show the path.
And what are we looking at here in States 53?
So this is a photograph from evidence markers 2, 3, and 4 back out, showing the viewpoint from the opposite direction, going from 2, 3, and 4 back to the trail, and then the pin flags are there.
Can you point to the pin flags so we can see them?
Yes.
Up in the middle of the photograph. And when you walked that trail and you photographed and you looked at, did you look at the disturbed leaf path?
Yes.
Did you see any blood?
No, I did not.
States 50. I already showed you that one, I'm sorry. Hold on a second. I want to talk to you about your marker 8. What was marker 8?
The phone.
At what time or how long approximately did it take y'all to find the phone?
We found the phone maybe about an hour before we finished, so Maybe like 5 hours.
By the time you found the phone, was it daylight still or dark?
It was still dark. Oh, well, sorry. It was dark.
So State's Exhibit 80, what are we looking at there?
I can't see the evidence marker.
I'm sorry, hold on. I will try to move it and see if it resumes. There we go.
So this is a photograph of evidence marker 8, and then in the background.
And where, I know we see evidence marker 8, but can you see the actual cell phone in this photograph?
No.
Okay. But it was there where evidence marker 8 was?
Yes.
Okay. Did you take a close-up of this?
I did.
States 81, what does that depict?
The cell phone.
Can you please point to the cell phone in States 81? Okay, in the middle of the screen?
Yes.
Did you collect the cell phone?
Yes, we did.
Did you look at the cell phone?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you observe about the cell phone?
We noticed that there was an area of ridge detail on the phone.
When you say ridge detail, what do you mean by that?
Fingerprint ridge detail.
Were you able to see that without processing the phone at all?
Yes, a little bit, but I had to use oblique lighting, so that's where you take your flashlight and you kind of side light it to be able to view the latent prints better.
States 82, what does that depict?
That's a photograph of the phone and me using the flashlight to try to highlight it.
I'm gonna wait for this thing to stop moving. Okay, hold on a second. Maybe it doesn't like the photos on top of each other. Okay. Where on the phone was this image that you saw, or this item that you saw? See, I'm not even touching it now and it's just moving.
It was at the bottom, close to the charging port area.
And do you see it depicted in States 82?
Yes.
Please point to it with your pointer. Were you able to determine, was there any reddish brown stains on the phone?
Yes.
Okay, what did you see?
It looked like there were reddish stains suspected to be blood.
Okay. Where on the phone?
Specifically the print.
States Exhibit 83, this may be really tough. I think I'm gonna have to come to you closer for it. So before I do that, did you end up taking a better photograph or more photographs of the latent print that you saw on the phone?
Yes.
States Exhibit 84, what is that?
That is a macro photo of the latent print, or in this case it would be a patent print because we could kind of see it, so, of the ridge detail.
Of the ridge detail.
Correct.
And when you say a macro photo, what do you mean by that?
So with photography, we have different lenses, and the macro lens specifically allows us to take close-up photographs of small items that are difficult to see. So it almost magnifies.
When did you take this photo?
On the scene after we collected the phone, immediately.
Was it before or after the phone was processed for prints?
This photograph, I believe this one is before. Yes, this one is before Detective Saunders used powder.
Okay, and did you see Detective Saunders process the phone?
I did.
And was that done in your presence?
Yes.
And then did he lift a latent lift card from that phone?
He did.
But this was your photograph prior to that?
Correct.
Now, for States 83, I am going to have to come closer to you because I am assuring that it's not going to show. May I approach?
Yes.
States 83, could you tell us what we're looking at? And then I'm just going to have to show counsel in the court.
This is a photograph of, I was trying to show that the print was located in the area where you would swipe to unlock. And so the phone was actually still receiving notifications. And so it actually says swipe to unlock behind the print.
Where do you see the swipe to unlock on this photo? At the very bottom.
Yes.
I'm going to show defense counsel first, and then with the court's permission, may I show the court?
Yes.
And how to approach the court. It's very difficult to see, but where my thumb is. So I can walk away. So moving to the phone and your exhibit marker 8. You can switch gloves if you need to. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to hand you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 92. Do you want me to take your old ones?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to ask that you look inside State's 92. Do you recognize what's inside State's 92?
Yes.
And what is it?
This is the cell phone that was at evidence marker 8.
And is it in the same or substantially same condition as it was when you collected it?
Yes.
State would move to admit State's 92.
No objection.
92 is admitted.
May I publish?
Yes.
So while I'm publishing the phone, can you put, using your finger where you saw the latent, our patent ridge detail that we see in State's 84?
It would have been right here.
And do you have an iPhone?
Yes, I do.
Right here where you put your finger, is that where you would hang up a call?
Yes.
Okay. On an iPhone?
Yes.
Just have a few more photos. 74. What is State 74?
So this is, I was trying to show how we got to the phone because the phone was not close to where her body was. So there's my evidence marker 1, marking the Airpod, and then I try to use this tree stump as a marker to show the path of getting to the phone.
72.
So that's, we talked earlier about the suspected stain. So in this photograph, I'm just trying to show some spatial relationship between 2, 3, and 4 in that stain.
And finally 25.
This is the area where first responders initially said her body was, and they moved her out. And I was just trying to show that even with first responders in this area, and there were several of them moving her, that area is still not nearly as disturbed as the area near evidence marker 2, 3, and 4.
On the scene that day, were Laken Riley's hands bagged?
Yes, they were.
And when we say bagged, can you describe what actually happened?
What we do is we put handbags over the hands to prevent the loss of any potential trace evidence or DNA.
And was that done in your presence by Lieutenant Saunders?
Yes.
Did you, what time did you leave that day, you said?
8:45.
Okay. At some point, were you asked to assist the same agency in photographing a suspect named Jose Ibarra?
Yes.
Can you tell the court what day and time were you asked to do that, and where were you and what did you do?
That would have been the 23rd, and it was approximately 9 p.m. when I arrived at the police department.
Which police department?
The Athens-Clarke County Police Department.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
I am handing you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibits 93 through 115. I ask you to take a look at those photos. I ask you a series of questions. Do you recognize 93 through 115?
Yes.
What are they?
They're photographs of Mr. Ibarra.
Did those photographs fairly and accurately depict him as you saw him on February 23rd of 2024?
Yes.
State would move to admit 93 through 115.
No objection.
93 through 115 are admitted.
And may I request permission to publish?
Aye.
May I approach to retrieve?
Yes.
First of all, the person that you photographed that day, do you see him in the courtroom today?
I do.
Could you please point to him and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing for the record?
He's wearing a plaid shirt.
May the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant. When you photographed him that day, about how close did you get to him?
Pretty close because I had to take close-up photographs of injuries that were on his body.
Okay, did you observe injuries on his body?
Yes,
And did you photograph those injuries?
I did.
And the time that you saw him, that day, is he heavier or lighter than he is today as far as weight?
When I photographed him, he was heavier.
Publishing States Exhibit 93, tell us what that depicts.
It's an overall photograph.
States 94, and it might be really hard to see, but maybe not. What does that depict?
An overall photograph of his hands.
Okay. And did you observe or photograph any injuries to his hands?
I did.
In general, just show us where they were, and then I'll try to get the close-up photos. Okay, so you're on the left hand for the record?
Yes.
Okay. And you pointed to the wrist area.
Yes. There's one here.
Left pinky finger.
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe I photographed this one as well.
Right middle finger.
Yes.
So, States 95. That could be hard to see. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, show us that injury. Show a few more of these. States 100.
That's the wrist, left wrist.
States 98.
Left pinky.
Whose scale is that?
Mine.
That's 96. States 96.
Oh yeah, that would have been I think the left middle finger from the previous photo.
All right. States 101.
So now we're on the right hand.
102.
There's a small, well, looks like a scratch.
Okay, in the middle of States 102.
Yeah, on the middle finger.
States 103.
Photographing the other side of the hand.
104.
Overall of the inner forearms, forearms.
105.
A scratch on the forearm.
Can you show that to the court? Is that where your sticker is?
Yeah.
Your scale?
Yes.
Okay.
I try to put the scale close to the injury.
And is that his right side or his left side?
I believe that's the left side.
What I need?
Yes, because it would be here.
All right. That's the left side?
Yes.
States 106.
It's an overall of his upper body.
States 107.
An overall of the back, and there's something here
Okay, when you say something, where are you pointing?
in the middle.
And did you observe an injury there?
Yes.
And did you photograph that?
Yes.
States 108. Is that where your scale is? Is the injury that you observed
Yes.
in the photograph? I might need to hand these back to you if you can't tell what they
Okay.
are. So you let me know, okay?
Okay.
States 114.
That's the left side of the neck.
And what did you observe to the left side of his neck?
A scratch.
All right, and is that, you just point to it for the record, above the necklace but below the ear?
Yes.
States 115.
That's the same injury with a scale.
And what side of your scale is that injury for the record? In the middle of the photograph to the right side of the scale?
Yes.
States 112.
That would be the right side of the front neck.
What did you observe there? Okay.
It looked like
point-
it was a scratch.
Okay, in the middle of the photo? States 113.
Same scratch with the scale.
These are the ones I think I'm going to have to come and hand back to you. May I
Okay.
approach the witness?
Yes.
I'm not sure you'll be able to tell based on what I put them up, or the way that I put them up. It's probably easier to see. What part of the body is that?
This looks like it's the back. 109 looks like it's a close-up of the back,
Okay.
the mark that was on the back. And then 110 would be the right elbow area. And then 111 is a close-up of that.
May I approach to retrieve?
Yes.
I'll tell you what, going forward, both prosecution and defense can move around freely. You don't have to ask. I know you're trying, that's going to be a hard habit to break.
It will, but I will do my best, Your Honor. You may
I was
have.
just trying to,
Thank you. Yes, I understand. I will do my best. You may have to remind me, because I used to get yelled at if I did that. So then, just briefly, states 110. Can you show us the scratch on that?
Yes.
And then 111. Is that the same area with the scale?
Yes.
Okay. May I have one moment, Your Honor, with counselor? Pass the witness.
Ms. Beck.
Good afternoon.
When you arrived on the crime scene, the body had already been moved, is that right?
Correct.
And were you informed about how the body was moved?
Yes.
So you were aware that some policemen grabbed the ankles and some grabbed her arms to move her?
Correct.
At some point you photographed a metal washer on the trail. Did that turn out to have any evidentiary significance to the case?
I don't believe it did.
Okay. Let's see. It's hard for us to tell from the pictures, but when you photographed the rocks on scene, were they lying on top of the leaves or partially buried by the leaves?
They were lying on top of the leaves. Like when I went to collect them, it wasn't like they left a depression. Like it wasn't like they had been sitting there for a while.
So they were on top of leaves and they were not in the dirt, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. And you said that you didn't see any other rocks in the area, but to be fair, you weren't out there with a rake looking for other rocks.
I did move. So it's common for us when we have outdoor scenes in the woods, we do move the leaves to search for additional evidence, especially because it was windy and I knew that the leaves could have shifted. We did kind of like rake up, not using a rake, but literally on my hands and knees, crawling through the area, trying to find additional items.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're good.
Okay. How wide of an area were you crawling through?
I searched the immediate area, and then there were also other agents that went further beyond the body, like into the woods in multiple directions.
Okay. And I'm not trying to be picky, but when you say immediate area, can you give us an estimate of feet?
So that would be the immediate area where my evidence markers are.
Okay.
That is what I consider my immediate area of the crime scene, and then I will assign other agents to go beyond that area.
Sure. Okay. Let's see. So you said that the markers 2, 3, and 4 were about 13 feet away from where the body was found. Is that
Correct.
right? Okay. And you said that the markers 4, 3, and 2 were about 64 feet from the path. Is that correct?
Yes, 6411 from evidence marker 1.
Okay.
Yes.
And for those of us that are not great with distances, is that like the length of this courtroom or a little bit more?
I'm not great with distances in that aspect either, so that's why I take my measurements.
All right, fair enough. Okay. So in States 45, we saw a picture close-up of Laken Riley's hand and her fingernails. Eventually, her fingernails were clipped. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you do the clipping yourself?
I did not. That's done at the autopsy.
Okay. So these photos would have been before her fingernails were clipped?
Correct.
Okay. You also briefly in your report mentioned that there was an irregular shaped blood stain on her left ankle. Do you remember noting that in your report?
Probably.
Okay. Did you see a corresponding wound on her left ankle?
No, but given the fact that she was moved by law enforcement, or things could have occurred during the incident.
Sure. So I guess what I'm asking is, did it look like the blood on her ankle was from contact with a bloody object rather than from a wound on her ankle?
Yes.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the latent print that you talked about with Ms. Ross. So you described that it was on the very bottom of the screen
Correct.
and right where it would have said swipe up to unlock. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, you own an iPhone.
Correct.
I own an iPhone. And you would agree with me that some iPhones have different screen sizes.
Yes.
But you would also agree with me that the marker to hang up a phone call is not at the very bottom of a screen.
It depends on your phone, but it doesn't vary that much. I mean, I have an iPhone 13 mini, which is probably the smallest iPhone you could have. And the screen size is not significantly different.
Sure. So just for demonstrative purposes, I'm going to show you my phone. It is also an iPhone. Let's see if I can get it angled the right way. Would you agree with me that oh goodness. Would you agree with me that that's a fairly accurate screenshot of where the call would be displayed on an iPhone?
Yes.
You would agree with me that there's about an inch between the red hang up sign and the bottom of the screen?
Yes, but your iPhone has the button.
It does have the button, but from the bottom of the screen to the red button is about an inch.
I'd have to measure it.
It's not touching the bottom of the screen, right?
No.
You were present during the autopsy of Ms. Riley,
Correct.
and you spoke with the medical examiner regarding the state of the crime scene as she was doing the autopsy.
I did.
Did you discuss her conclusions with her at that time?
No.
You noted in your report that you searched Ms. Riley's shoes for a house key.
Yes, so at some point while we were working the crime scene, we were looking for her phone and potentially a house key. So some runners run with the house key in their shoe. They take the single key and they put it in their shoe.
And you didn't find the house key in her shoe.
I did not.
Did you ever find the house key in any of her clothing articles?
I did not.
Okay. I want to talk briefly about your photos of Mr. Ibarra. You took photos of his arms, his hands, his back, and his neck. Are those the areas that you photographed?
And his legs.
And his legs.
Yes.
We didn't go through any photos of his legs. Were there any injuries that you saw on his legs?
I did not observe any.
Now, when you took photos of Mr. Ibarra, you were also collecting evidence for a DNA test. Is that correct?
Yes.
And to do that, you collected some buccal swabs.
Sergeant Saunders collected those.
In your presence?
Correct.
Okay. And buccal swabs would be on the insides of the cheeks, correct?
Yeah, it's actually buccal swabs.
Thank you. And then you also tried to collect DNA from the fingernails, or at least collect his fingernails for DNA analysis. Is that true?
Correct, yeah. He had really short fingernails, so there was no way that I was going to be able to clip them.
So they were too short to even clip a little bit off of?
Yes, it would have been extremely painful.
Okay. And so instead, you guys resorted to a backup plan, which is where you swabbed the kind of underneath his fingernails?
Yes.
And you did that. And were those sent to the lab for testing as well?
That I do not know.
Okay. The injuries that you, well, I guess who had custody of those swabs under his fingernails? Would that be Officer Saunders?
Yes.
Okay. The injuries that you observed on his back and his neck and his arms, some of those injuries were lighter and some were darker. Is that true?
Correct.
All right. Just one moment, Your Honor.
Briefly, let's measure out 64 feet and 11 inches. All right? So, with court's permission, can you stand?
Yes.
And just step before this podium. hold the end. Actually, I should hold the end. You should tell me when we get there.
Okay.
All right? Go over where you need to go to make it work.
We're at 25 feet.
All right, so this is 25 feet. So do the math. How much more of this than you would have to go?
Now we have to go to the hallway.
Into the hall. At least by this distance, right? Because this is only 25 feet. And then by 14 feet in addition to that. All right, thank you. The iPhone, you had mentioned when Ms. Beck showed you her phone, that hers has that button that Apple doesn't use anymore at the bottom of the screen, right?
Correct.
Did Laken Riley's phone have that button?
No, it did not have the home button.
Okay. What's the significance of the home button? And why did you point that out to Ms. Beck?
Because the home button takes up space, and the whole reason the newer phones have a bigger screen, and the home button doesn't take up as much space, which provides a bigger screen. So that would change.
Would it change where you would hang up a call?
Yes,
So Laken Riley's phone did not have a home button like the one on Ms. Beck's phone, correct?
correct.
So would it look more like, I'll just show you my iPhone. The cheap phone? Yeah. Would it look more like my iPhone?
Yes.
No home button.
Correct.
Hold on just a second. Miss Jackson's about to call me. Okay, so do you see where my phone is?
Yes.
Would the hang up button be where the answer button is as well? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you see my green?
Yes.
Okay.
The slide to answer. Yes.
All right, slide to answer. And that is how close to the bottom of the phone?
It's closer than if you have a home button.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Any Red Cross and stuff?
No further questions.
Should be excused.
Yes.
Any objection, Ms. Beck?
No, sir.
Thank you.
You're excused. Special Agent Stewart.
Thank you.
You may call your next witness.
The state calls Zachary Davis.
Zachary Davis.
Raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, in the matter of the state of Georgia versus Jose Ibarra?
I do.
Thank you. Please take a seat. Spell your first and last name for Madam Court Reporter.
I am Zachary Davis, Z-A-C-H-A-R-Y, last name D-A-V-I-S.
Where do you work?
I'm a police officer with the Athens-Clarke County Police Department.
How long have you worked for the Athens-Clarke County Police Department?
I have been employed with Athens-Clarke County since March 7th of 2022.
What are your duties with Athens-Clarke County Police Department?
I am a patrol officer. I'm assigned to the West Side Division, work night shift between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m.
As patrol officer, what do you do?
Typically is responding to calls for service. When you call 911 and you want someone to come out, that's your patrol officers that show up. When we're not responding to calls for service, we're expected to be patrolling our areas, meeting the needs of the community.
When you patrol, do you wear a uniform such as you are wearing today?
Yes.
And you drive a patrol car?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you working for the Athens-Clarke County Police Department in February, on February 22nd of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
What shift did you work that day?
6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
When you came in at 6 p.m., were you given any information about an incident that may have occurred?
Yes.
What information did you get?
At the time, it was very little information, but I was made aware that a female had been murdered in the IM fields, the intramural fields located on UGA's property, just across the village from my zone.
And when you say just across from my zone, what do you mean by that?
So we divide the county along Millage. Everything on the east side of Millage, like the downtown area, is east side. I work the west side, so everything on the west side, closer to Oconee County and the mall, that's typically assigned to our side of town.
So Millage is basically smack in between the east side and the west side.
Yes,
Are you familiar with the IM fields in that area of the University of Georgia?
I am.
And how are you familiar with that area?
Prior to being a police officer with Athens-Clarke County, I was employed by the University of Georgia Police Department and served on their patrol division for 5 years and some change.
So when you came to work that evening and were given this information, what, if anything, did you do?
My shift, we assigned more units down towards that Millage area, just hoping to assist in any way that we could. I immediately started talking to some of the locals, asking if anybody had heard of anything. Nobody really knew anything and could point me in any sort of direction to start working. At that point, the only real information we've been provided was a photo, a very grainy photo that I was told was taken from Building S on the University of Georgia's, when I worked there, it was called Family Housing. I'm not sure what it's called now. It's down there off of Rogers Road and East Campus Road. I was told that photo was of someone suspicious in the area that morning. I knew the proximity of Building S to the IM fields and the location that I worked for the county down in South Millage, and I began checking in those areas for anything to go off of.
So tell us the proximities that you knew of then. The Building S that you're familiar with, how far
Sure.
away was that from Millage?
From Millage, if it's just a straight line, it's maybe 100, 150 yards, I guess.
And you were made aware of where the woman had been killed. How far away was that from Building S?
Maybe another 100 yards. I still don't know the exact location, but I knew it was within that proximity of walking distance.
And I'm going to approach and show you a few things all at once so that I don't have to keep coming up to you.
Not easy.
The first thing I'm going to show you is States 144. Do you recognize 144?
Yes.
What is that?
That is the grainy photo that was taken from Building S that I was provided.
And I would move to admit States 44. 144, I apologize.
Any objection to 144? No. 144 is admitted.
States 140, we're eventually going to get to that, but since I'm up here, I thought I'd go ahead and do it. You recognize States 140?
I do.
What is States 140?
That is a photo I took of a jacket that was located inside of a trash can on the property of either 291 or 295 South Millage Avenue, what used to be Raintree Apartments.
Is it also called Celiac at Azul at one point?
Yes.
And Argo Apartments?
Yes.
Yeah, about how many times has that apartment changed?
Since I've been living in Athens, 4 times. I believe now it is currently the Grove at 5 Points.
So no matter what the name is of that apartment complex, what are the addresses associated?
I believe it's 291 and 295 or 285. I'd have to check my CAD system mapping.
Okay, of Millage Avenue.
Yes.
Are both of those addresses, 285, 291 Millage Avenue, are they both located in Athens-Clarke County, Georgia?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This photograph that you took, which is States 140, does it fairly and accurately depict what you saw in the dumpster on the 22nd day of February 2024?
It does.
State move to admit States 140.
No. No objection. 140 is admitted.
And States 141, while I'm up here, what is that?
This is a flash drive that I have signed, and when I signed it, it contained my body cam footage resolving collection of that jacket.
And is it a fair and accurate recording of your body cam footage?
It is.
State would move to admit 141.
Any objection to 141? No, sir. 141 is admitted.
And may I publish?
Yes.
So starting first with 144, is that the image that you were talking about that you had received?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said you got to work about 6 p.m. that day?
Yes, that's when my shift starts.
Okay. And you had that image, you said you started asking people, you know, millaging around. What else did you do in relation to trying to assist the officers with the crime that had just occurred?
So, given the university's location to millage, I recalled an incident from 6 years ago where I pursued a subject from Building S, behind Building S, to, at the time, what was Argo Apartments at that 291, 295 address. And there's a perfect cut through that walks through those two. So I figured the ease of access for someone to easily cut over to millage. I began checking dumpsters just because people tend to try and get rid of property in dumpsters that they don't want to be in possession of. I checked several dumpsters. We'd also been called to, people were starting to call in about everything at this point, not really knowing what's going on, trying to be helpful. During that time, I found myself at the Rain Tree Apartments, wherever it was called. Started going through those dumpsters. There's one immediately behind the Italian restaurant that's there, that's still on the Rain Tree property. Looked in there, didn't see anything that really appeared to be evident that it was, you know, pertinent to what was going on. I then made my way around. I noticed that the trash had been picked up recently. It's a rather large complex, and
Sorry, we had the lights off before you got
no,
there.
you're fine. And then, so the trash had been picked up either earlier that day or relatively recently, just due to the lack of trash that was in there. I made my way further into the complex, and I noticed there were 3 dumpsters, 2 of which were trash receptacles and one that was clearly marked for recycling. I checked the 2 trash ones. They have the sliding doors on the side. Looked in there, didn't notice anything. Again, nothing that really stuck out to me as pertinent. Finally went to the one that was strictly labeled for recycling. The sides of it were welded shut, but the top was open, so I climbed up onto it and looked down into it, and that's why I noticed the blue jacket.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you notice about the blue jacket? And is it the blue jacket that is depicted here in States 140?
It is.
All right, there's a pointer right next to you. Can you point out the jacket?
Oh, wow.
Oh, it should be, oh, nope, there's your pointer.
Perfect. So that is the jacket. The photo of the suspicious individual, they were wearing a darker colored jacket, appeared to have some shinier zippers or buttons on the front. Again, super grainy, but something to go on. The zipper, as well as it appeared as though there were leaves, and upon further examination, there was a little bit more.
Okay. Could you see anything else on the jacket at some point?
Not from this height. At this point, we didn't want to just be chasing down clothes in dumpsters, but given this proximity to the scene, as well as the photo that was taken, I immediately notified my supervisor so that he could contact the University of Georgia Police Department, since they were working the case. Detectives from UGA came out to look at it. They decided they would like to collect the evidence. I volunteered to climb into a dumpster, and upon picking up the jacket, I noticed that there were leaves on it. There were tears on the front as well, and what appeared to be some darker red or brown stains on the sleeves near the wrist.
Okay, and did you notice anything else on the jacket?
There was, I believe in my video I stated it's a button. The front has 2 pockets up here that fold down, and on the bottom has 2 pockets that fold out, that the buttons are used to close those pockets. Wrapped around one of the pocket buttons appeared to be dark hair.
So you jumped into the dumpster.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you or publish for you. Your Honor, can we toggle back over? States 141. Do you see the screen in front of you? Do you see that address, 2091 South Milledge Avenue?
Yes,
And that is located in Athens-Clarke County, Georgia.
it is.
Is that where you found this jacket?
It is.
Who's that we see in your body
That
cam
is
video?
Detective Norris from the University of Georgia Police Department. He's the one currently standing on the side of the dumpster. The gentleman on the right is I'm not sure of his rank at this time, but it is, when I was there, Lieutenant Graham.
Okay. So are those ACC PD officers or UGA PD
University of
officers?
Georgia police
Okay,
officers.
thank you.
The first 30 seconds is silent on all of our videos. It gives a chance to buffer and go backwards from time of activation. just
Okay.
to clarify
So we'll hear
that.
volume in a second.
Yes,
All right.
about 10 seconds. Come on. Oh shit. Yeah. There's hair on the buttons, ripped up sleeves.
Can you bundle it up with whatever is... Yeah, let me open this bag.
See a brunette?
Yes.
There's women's long hair wrapped up in the buttons.
Let's stop it at 258 in the top, which of course is UTC. So if it's 258 UTC minus 5 hours, about what time of night was this?
9:58?
Pardon?
9:58?
9:58?
PM,
Okay.
yes.
PM.
Good friend of math.
So I think you did that right. 2:23:24, 2:58 UTC is 9:58 PM on the 22nd day of February 2024.
Yes.
Right, thank you. I heard you just ask, was she a brunette? Why did you ask that question?
Because the hair wrapped up in the buttons appeared to be darker, didn't appear to be full black, and it definitely wasn't blonde. So,
All right.
while I'm in here, stand by. Are we looking for a white coffee cup? It's not the same. It's part of some other trash. I know I still talk that about it. I don't see anything else sticking out. You good with it? What? Been called dumb before. Don't want to satisfy a report.
Satisfied.
How many dumpsters had you looked at that evening before you got to this one?
Before to this one, I believe there's one dumpster area located behind the Tall Boy Liquor Store, which is at the intersection of Millage and the Inner Loop exit ramp. So that would be one or two dumpsters there, the other one on that property, and then including the two more, so that puts us at 5, and this dumpster makes 6. Somewhere in that area.
All right. And we heard you say something about a coffee cup, a white coffee cup.
Correct.
What was that all about? What were you looking for?
In the, what are we calling it? The grainy photo?
Sure.
In the grainy photo, it appears that the subject's carrying a coffee cup.
Okay, well, hold on just a second. Maybe toggle back over. And states 1 44, do you see the cup you were talking about?
I do.
Okay, is that in the person's right or left hand?
Their left hand.
All right. Is that what you were looking for in the dumpster?
Yes, I just
Okay.
remembered seeing the photo and seeing a white coffee cup, but it didn't appear large enough when I picked it up.
And so you didn't find that, but you looked.
Correct.
And anything else in the dumpster that was suspicious to you at all?
No.
Did you notice, and the dumpster seemed kind of high, I mean, how high was it for you to get out? You stood in it, so how tall are you?
My license says 6 foot, it's like 5'11".
Okay.
But in boots, I'm 6 foot, and it's a hair taller than me, so probably 6'3", 6'4". The slit for the opening is, I believe I have to get on my tippy toes to look into it.
Okay.
So that's probably in the area of 6 feet.
All right. And when you hopped out of the dumpster, did you see a camera?
Yes.
Let me back up a little bit, and I want you to show us the camera that you saw when you got out. Okay, I'm gonna go back to where you hop out, and I want you to tell me to stop when you see the camera.
Can we get the video back?
Just a minute, let's go back over.
Oh, sorry. So for the record now, I have states 141, and I'm just using the UTC time at this point at 2:59.
So,
I'm stopping it now at 2:59.
yeah. So this apartment, right here is Bravo 32 at Raintree Apartments. In that doorway, I believe it's on the left side, you can kind of see a dark spot right there. That dark spot in a clearer video would clearly be a security footage camera of that residence.
Okay. And did you let UGAPD or UGPD know that as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. May I have one moment with counsel, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness. Thank you.
Officer Davis,
Yes.
so we obviously see you get the jacket, take custody of the jacket, and before you put it into that paper bag, you were sort of talking to the other officers who were outside of the dumpster, right, describing a little bit.
Correct.
And one of the things we hear you say is that it's torn.
Correct.
And do you recall how many tears?
I do not. I did not want to manipulate the jacket any more than I needed to package it, but I also wanted to get as much of a description that I could at the time.
And then, and obviously you didn't examine it further after you packaged it up.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Big break.
No, sir.
Will you be excused?
Yes, sir.
Any objection, Mr. Ryan? You're excused.
Thank you.
Our next witness is going to be a little lengthy, so we take our afternoon break so I can make sure I have all of the
Okay.
it'd be probably a good time to break.
All right. 10-minute recess.
Lieutenant Saunders. If you could stand and raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you will give today in the matter of the state of Georgia versus Jose Ibarra will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Please take a seat, spell your first and last name.
First name is Daniel. Last name Saunders.
Where do you work?
The University of Georgia Police Department.
How long have you worked there?
I worked there since 2008.
What are your duties and responsibilities there?
My current duties are I'm assigned as the lieutenant of the administration division.
At one point, were you over the crime scene section?
Yes, I was a sergeant in investigations, and one of my duties was to process crime scenes.
Tell the court a little bit about your training for processing of crime scenes.
Throughout my time at the University of Georgia Police Department, I've taken classes in crime scene investigations, evidence room management, crime scene tech, basic photography, latent print development, and sexual assault investigations.
And how long have you been a law enforcement officer?
Since 2008.
How many crime scenes have you had the opportunity to process over your career?
I don't have an exact number, but several.
Okay. Were you working on February 22nd of 2024?
Yes.
What were you doing that day?
I was working in investigations that day.
And what, if anything, occurred that day that brings you to court today?
On the 22nd, we had a call go out for a non-accidental death at the intramural fields. I responded to that area to help process the scene.
Were you the lead assigned to process the scene, or did you all call another agency to assist you?
I initially headed that way, and we hadn't called another agency at that time. While I was taking pictures of the scene, I was informed that the GBI was called to come in and process the scene, so I stood by at that point.
When you entered the scene that day, how did you enter the scene?
I went in after crime scene specialist Stewart came in. I kind of followed her as she was taking pictures of the overall area.
At some point, did you observe a item that was not actually within the crime scene, but kind of close to it?
Yes. On the way to where the actual scene itself was, I do remember seeing a white styrofoam cup that was right off the main road leading toward where the scene was. It stood out because it's typically a very clean area right there at the University of Georgia at the intramural fields. So I made a mental note of that at that point.
And did you eventually photograph that cup and collect it?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibits 116 through 120. I ask that you look at those for me. Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes.
What are they?
These are photos that I took of the cup where it stood when I first saw it.
And do they fairly and accurately depict the cup as you saw it on February 22nd of 2024?
Yes.
State would move to admit 116 to 120.
No objection.
They're admitted.
About what time did you arrive on scene, and about what time did you observe that cup?
My arrival on scene was right around 12:57 is when we arrived at the intramural fields.
And when did you observe that cup?
Immediately upon arrival.
Your Honor, could you toggle back over to the...
Elmo, thank you. With the court's permission, may I publish 116?
Yes.
Through 120. 116, tell us what we're looking at here.
This is the main route into the intramural field area. There's a large rock on the left. The road that continues past the rock past that and to the left is where the actual crime scene was.
Okay, so where my pin is, you see that truck?
Yes.
Is that in the direction of where the crime scene was?
Yes.
And to get from where this rock is to where the crime scene is, how do you get there?
The primary route, if you're on a vehicle, it's going to be going directly past that cup toward where the vehicle is, and then the road curves off to the left.
State's Exhibit 117, what does that depict?
That's a closer up image of the rock in the cup.
118, what does that depict?
It's the same thing. It's just moving in a little bit closer to where the cup and the rock are.
And you showed us where the cup is using the pointer in 118? Up, you gotta go up behind you. You can't.
Oh, sorry. Right.
It's in the middle of 118?
Yeah.
119.
Right here.
In the middle, okay. You can have a seat again. And then State's Exhibit 120. What direction is that?
This is going to be facing toward the east, back toward the family housing area.
And do you see the cup in State's 120?
No, not in this image. Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
Yeah, is it hard to see because of the glare?
Yeah.
All right.
Right here.
All right, so you pointed out in the right side of the photograph. In this photograph, where is the university housing that you mentioned?
University housing is right here on the hill behind the trees.
Okay, thank you. So, did you collect this cup?
Yes.
And when you went to collect the cup, did it have anything in it or was it empty?
It had a liquid inside of the cup.
And did you smell the liquid?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you smell?
It smelled like alcohol.
Do you have gloves?
Yes.
You can put those on, please. I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification purposes of State's Exhibit 148. And ask that you look inside of that, and I'll ask you questions.
Okay.
Do you recognize State's 148?
Yes.
What is it?
This is the cup that I collected that was featured in that photograph.
And did the cup that you collect also have a straw with it?
Yes.
And is this cup in the same or substantially same condition as it was when you collected it?
Yes.
And do you see the straw and the top to the cup as well in there?
Yes.
State would move to admit State's 148, request permission to publish. No objection.
148 submitted, and you may. Okay.
Prior to collecting the cup, what did you do with the liquid?
I poured it in a separate container and sealed that separate from the cup.
State's Exhibit, I'm going to approach you with what is marked State's Exhibit 154.
Do you recognize State's 154?
Yes.
What is it?
That is a map of the intramural field where the cup was and also where the crime scene was.
And with using State's 154, aid you in your testimony before the court today to show him the relationship between the cup and the crime scene.
Yes.
And is this an accurate overhead image of the crime scene from that day? I mean, as it was depicted that day.
Yes.
State would move to admit 154, request permission to publish.
I don't have objection B, it is for demonstrative purpose.
Submitted for that purpose.
I'm gonna print out the. Lieutenant, if you could use your pointer again and show us here what we're looking at. Can the court and counsel see, please?
Okay. This is the location of where that cup was, right here next to the rock. And this road is the main road that I took to the crime scene, which then loops around It comes back through here, and this is where the scene itself was.
And in States 154, do you also see Building S?
Yes, right here.
And is it marked Building S?
Yes.
And then also, did you respond to a call later that evening to an apartment complex named Argo, sometimes called Raintree, but it's at 2084 Millage Avenue?
I did, yes.
And do you see that also in States Exhibit 154?
Yes, right. Right here.
At the bottom?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, you can have a seat. In addition to collecting that cup, did you assist Special Agent Stewart in processing the scene?
Yes.
Tell us how you assisted her.
I assisted her by collecting the actual items that were on the scene, by helping her physically put them in the bags, the collection bags. Also, when I collected the cup, and when we found the victim's cell phone, I collected, or Agent Stewart collected that, and then I processed it.
Also, the items that were collected by yourself and Special Agent Stewart that day, were they sealed by you?
Yes.
And were they dropped off at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation Crime Lab for processing, sealed?
Yes.
Did you collect the Garmin watch off of Laken Riley's body?
I did.
And did you also bag her hands on the scene?
I did.
How did you bag her hands on scene?
Using CSS Stewart provided me with the handbags that she had, and I placed those on the victim's hands.
I'm going to hand you two items. The first one is State's Exhibit 146. And the next one is State's Exhibit 153. I'm going to ask you about 146 first. Do you recognize 146?
Yes.
What is it?
This is the bag that I placed the victim's watch in after I removed it from her wrist.
And you open up another side,
Yep.
you see inside the bag?
Yes.
And what's inside the bag?
The Garmin 4Runner watch.
And is it in the same or substantially same condition as it was when you collected it?
Yes.
And when you arrived on scene, was the watch still running?
Yes.
State would move to admit State's Exhibit 146.
No objection.
146 is admitted.
May I publish?
Yes.
And there's 153. I'm going to ask you about 153, but before I do that, tell us about when the phone was found. How did you physically process the phone?
Using a sterile brush and sterile black powder that Agent Stewart had in her crime scene vehicle.
Okay, and did y'all do that together as well?
She photographed the item prior to me processing it. After she was done photographing it, I physically processed the phone itself.
Okay. And were you able to lift a latent lift off of that phone?
Yes.
If you could look at States 153, what is that?
This is the latent lift from that phone.
The state would move to admit States 153.
No objection.
153 is admitted.
And I want to ask you, did you note on the lift card where on the phone you found that impression? Or developed that impression? Or saw that impression?
Yes, there's a drawing on the front of the print card itself on where that print came from.
All right, is that the mark that you have there? Is that an X?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I'll publish that to the court. So it's this drawing here where it says sketch and an X.
Correct.
That's where you saw the impression.
Correct.
And this latent lift card and Special Agent Stewart's photographs
of the latent lift that you all saw on Laken Riley's phone on the 22nd day of February 2024. What did you do with those items? What happened to the photographs and the latent lift card itself?
Those were provided to Tim Stewart with Athens-Clarke County Police Department.
And what was the purpose of providing those items to him?
He is the local APHIS fingerprint examiner, so those were provided for him for comparison purposes and to run on APHIS.
I want to direct your attention to later on that evening. About what time did you leave the crime scene?
We left, the crime scene work was actually complete around 8:45. We left closer to 9 o'clock.
When you left, where did you go?
We were headed back to the station. On the way there, I received notification that Officer Davis with the Athens-Clarke County Police Department had found some items, a jacket that may have been related to our crime scene.
So did you respond to that location?
Yes.
When you were there, what, if anything, did you collect or see?
While we were on the scene, I collected, I handed an evidence bag to Officer Davis with Athens-Clarke County Police Department. He put a blue jacket inside of that bag, and we also collected a set of gloves that were found in a bush nearby where the dumpster was.
I am going to hand you what has been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibits 121 and 130 through 130, not in, but through 121 through 130. Ask that you look at those photographs. Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes.
What are they?
These are pictures of what I took that evening of the dumpster that the jacket was found in, the jacket itself that was in the dumpster, and then the gloves that were found in the bush, the relation of the bush to where the dumpster is.
And did they fairly and accurately pick those items as you saw them on that evening?
Yes.
The state would move to admit 121 through 130.
No objection.
121 through 130.
And request permission to publish.
No.
121, what are we looking at there?
The dumpster that the jacket was found in is right here.
Okay, can we dim the lights again? Because now the glare is back. Thank you.
This dumpster right here is where the jacket was found in.
And that's the one closest to the patrol car?
Correct.
And whose patrol car is that? I mean, as far as what agency?
Athens-Clarke County Police Department.
All right, thank you. 122, what are we looking at there?
It's another image of the dumpster, just from another angle.
123?
A closer up image of the dumpster itself.
124?
This is an overhead view inside the dumpster. You can see the edge of the dumpster where I held the camera up and photographed the jacket that was found inside.
125?
And it's a closer up image of the jacket itself, just with a little bit better lighting.
All right, and do you see a button on that jacket?
Yes.
Can you point that out? And on your photograph, do you see anything around the button?
Yes, there was hair around this button.
126?
It's the jacket itself again.
And so you said there were some bushes.
Correct.
And you went and looked there and recovered some gloves. What What brought you to do that? How did you go to go look in some bushes?
As we were searching the area around where the jacket was found, we had noticed that there was a security camera in one of the apartments nearby. We spoke with a resident of that apartment, and he allowed us to view his camera footage from that security camera that was pointed at the dumpster. After watching that security footage, we noticed that somebody had put an item in that dumpster, and then after they put the item in the dumpster, they walked toward the bush and appeared to put something in the bush as well. So we checked that specific area of the bush where you could see somebody put something in there.
And what, if anything, did you see in the bush when you checked it?
Some gloves that were wrapped up together.
What kind of gloves?
They were black gloves.
Cloth or not cloth?
No, not cloth.
States 130, what does that depict?
That is a picture of the bush in relation to where the dumpster itself was.
Can you tell us which bush you went into? Because I see 2 in States 130.
Yes, I believe it was this one, but one of the other pictures should show it from a different angle as well.
Okay. States 127.
Yeah, it was this bush right here.
And when you say this one, is that the one in the middle? Or
Correct, the one in the middle. It was found right here in these branches.
States 129.
That's how the gloves were situated. We hadn't touched them or anything at this point. This is how they were found in the bush.
And 128.
That's a little bit closer up or further off image of where the gloves were found in the bush.
And how many gloves were there?
I did not unravel the gloves on scene.
Okay, so what did you do with them?
They were turned into the GBI crime lab afterwards.
And did you package them before you did that?
Yes.
How did you package them?
I packaged them in a paper bag.
And same question with the jacket. When the jacket was collected, did you package it?
Yes.
And did you seal it?
Yes.
Did you seal the gloves also?
I did.
And were those items delivered to the crime lab sealed?
Yes.
I'm handing you what's been marked for identification purposes as States Exhibits 147 and 149. I'm going to leave them both up here if you're going to ask them to look at 147.
Yes.
What is 147?
This is the jacket that was recovered from the dumpster.
And it has gone to the crime lab, correct?
Correct.
For testing.
Yes.
The state will move to admit State 147. 147.
Any objection?
No objection.
147 is admitted.
Published.
Yes.
And is there a hood on this jacket that I'm holding?
Yes.
One 49. First of all, do you recognize the outer packaging, which is in marked 149?
Yes.
And inside 149 is what? Just describe what it is.
Yep. 3 individual envelopes inside there.
And do you see a crime lab number associated with those?
Yes.
Okay. And could you just read that out for the record?
It's 2024-1005-107.
And those 3 items, go ahead and look inside. And do you recognize those 3 items inside the envelopes?
Those are 3 black gloves.
And the statement moved to admit states 149.
No objection.
149 submitted.
And may I publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
Just going to publish one of these out of 149. In front of you also is 145. So I'm going to ask you, after the collection of the gloves and the jacket, did you have the opportunity to also assist Special Agent Stewart in processing of the defendant in this case and collecting a sample of his DNA and photographing him?
Yes.
When did that occur?
This occurred on the 23rd.
Of what month?
The 23rd of February.
2024.
Yes.
And where did that occur?
At the Athens-Clarke County East Precinct.
And were you the person that actually physically swabbed the defendant to get a sample of his DNA?
Yes.
And was that done after obtaining first a search warrant?
Yes.
The sample of his DNA, tell the court how exactly you went about collecting it.
I collected buccal swabs using 2 sterile cotton swabs on the inside of his cheek.
Okay, and then did you label them?
Yes.
Did you seal them?
Yes.
And were they delivered to the crime lab sealed?
Yes.
The person that you swabbed that day, on the 23rd day of February, do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you please point to him and describe an article of clothing he's wearing?
He's wearing a blue and white checkered shirt.
May the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant. States, can you give me that evidence number again? Is that 145?
145.
Okay. Are those the swabs that you collected?
Yes.
And this time, Your Honor, the state moved to admit states 145.
No objection.
145 submitted.
Moving on to other matters that you did in this case, I want to hand you what has been marked for identification purposes as States Exhibits 131 through 139. If you could look at those for me. Recognize those?
Yes.
What are they?
These are pictures that I took of a bag that was seized by ACCPD from Diego Ibarra.
What day did you obtain that bag from ACCPD?
The bag was obtained from ACCPD on the 26th of February, 2024.
When you obtained from ACCPD a bag that belonged to Diego Ibarra, did you search the bag?
Yes.
Okay. And did you look at the items inside the bag?
Yes.
And did you photograph the items inside the bag?
Yes.
And do states exhibits 131 through 139 depict the photographs that you took?
Yes.
And do they fairly and accurately depict the items of Diego's bag and items inside the bag as you saw them on February 26th of 2024?
Yes.
State would move to admit 131 through 139.
No objection.
And may I publish?
Yes.
And in looking through the items that belonged to Diego Ibarra, did you see any items that had any blood on it?
No.
States 131, what's that?
That's a picture of the bag.
States 134, what are those?
Those are 2 gloves that were found inside of the bag.
States 135.
The other side of those gloves that were found in the bag.
Now, are those cloth gloves or plastic gloves?
Those are cloth gloves. One of them is kind of a mix of leather type material and cloth.
And were there any blood on these items?
No.
Or was there any blood on those items?
No.
137.
That's a picture of the inside of the bag itself.
138.
That is the shoes that were inside the bag. I took those out and photographed them.
And these are just other items. Let's see, 136.
Those were found inside the bag as well.
139.
Those also found inside the bag.
133.
That was inside the bag.
132.
And that was in the bag as well.
Did you collect from the Athens-Clarke County Police Department a black Adidas style hat?
Yes.
Tell us under what circumstances you collected that and when.
That was collected at the same time that I collected the bag from the Athens-Clarke County Police Department. There was a search warrant that Sergeant Rabu had obtained for those items that had been taken off Diego Ibarra when he was taken into custody by ACCPD.
The black Adidas style hat, did you look at it?
When I collected it, I did not. It was already sealed in a bag from the Athens-Clarke County Police Department.
And that sealed bag, did you take that sealed bag to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation?
I did.
Okay. And I'm handing you a spin mark for identification purposes as States Exhibit 151. Do you recognize your handwriting on States 151?
Yes.
What is States 151?
This is the evidence bag that I placed the Athens-Clarke County evidence bag inside of.
Okay, and what was inside the Athens-Clarke County bag?
A black Adidas hat.
And was that all delivered to the crime lab sealed?
Yes.
I'm going to move to admit States 151 and link it up with another witness, Your Honor.
No objection.
It's admitted.
And States 151, do you also see that same crime lab number on States 151?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Did you also obtain a cell phone, a blue Motorola cell phone, seized from Diego Ibarra from ACCPD?
I did at the same time that I picked up the bag and the hat.
I'm handing you what's been marked for identification purposes as States Exhibit 152.
Yes.
Do you recognize that item?
Yes.
What is it?
That is, this is the cell phone that was seized or that was collected from ACCPD. I then placed it inside of one of our evidence bags.
And was that the cell phone seized from Diego Ibarra on February 23rd of 2024?
Yes.
Say we move to admit States 152.
No objection.
152 is admitted.
Of all the items, just globally, so I want to make sure that this was clear for the record, of all the items that you collected from the scene of Laken Riley's murder, so that would be Daniela Stewart's numbers 1 through 8, you know what I'm talking about? Her evidence markers?
Yes.
Yes.
All of those items that you collected, did you seal those items yourself?
Yes.
And did you deliver those to the crime lab sealed?
Yes.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Is it Lieutenant Saunders?
Yes.
Lieutenant, you were called to the scene on February 22nd, you said around 2 o'clock p.m.?
No.
You can look at your report if you
Yeah,
need
we
to.
arrived around 12:57.
12:57. Okay. And you had initially started to process, or you were moving toward the scene to process it yourself.
I was right. Before I was notified that the GBI was on the way, I took some photographs of the overall scene.
Sure. And then when you were told GBI was sending somebody, you kind of held off until they arrived.
Correct.
And is it fair to say that she took the lead on documenting the scene?
Yes.
Or, okay. Was there any investigative act that you took the lead on, or were you just letting her and following along behind her?
The only thing that I didn't, or that I collected without being in the presence of Agent Stewart, was the styrofoam cup and the jacket and the gloves later on.
Okay. Let's talk about the latent fingerprint discovered on the phone. That was later at night, around 9 o'clock? You can refer to your report.
It was later at night. It was a little bit before 9 o'clock.
And before you processed it for fingerprints, you noticed that it was the fingerprint appeared to be made with some sort of reddish substance.
There appeared to be some sort of reddish substance in the fingerprint.
Did you believe it was blood?
I wasn't sure what it was.
Okay. Was it a liquid red substance?
It appeared to be made from a liquid, yes.
Okay. So we have heard you use the term processed. What do you mean by processed?
When I say process, it can mean different things, but in this particular case, I mean using fingerprint powder and a fingerprint brush to make the print itself stand out.
And what is that fingerprint powder made of?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. When you use fingerprint powder on a substance, is that substance then able to be chemically examined, or does the fingerprint powder kind of ruin whatever chemical substance was there before?
So I know the fingerprint powder and the brush we use is DNA free. As far as chemical processing afterwards, I can't say whether or not that would prevent anything like that from being done.
Was the surface of the phone ever tested for DNA?
The surface of the phone was swabbed.
And were those swabs sent off for DNA testing?
They were given to the GBI crime lab.
And was that done after the latent print was processed?
Yes.
I had a question. I noticed that both you and Ms. Ross are putting on gloves to handle the evidence today. Can you explain why that is?
We change our gloves between handling different items of evidence to avoid any sort of cross-contamination with the DNA.
Because DNA can be transferred by as simple as a touch, is that right?
I can't say how much of a touch it takes to transfer DNA.
But your testimony a moment ago was that you put on gloves to avoid transferring that DNA.
Correct.
When we looked at States 147, the blue jacket, part of the jacket was actually kind of missing. You could see the white lining inside the jacket.
Correct.
That was a cutting that wasn't there when you photographed the jacket in the dumpster. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay, so that was done later at the crime lab.
Correct.
And so I just wanted to clarify that's not the tear you guys are talking about when you see the dumpster in the video.
The large cutting is not the tear that we saw in the dumpster.
Okay. So one thing that it was hard for us to see and hear was the condition of the gloves. Now, you were present when defense counsel looked at the gloves a couple weeks ago or last week.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And we actually kind of like spread them out on the table. And the gloves, they're not latex gloves, right?
I'm not sure what material they are.
What I mean by that is they're not the stretchy, rubbery consistence of the gloves that you and Miss Ross are
They're
wearing.
not. No, they're not like stretchy material.
They're more like, I don't know, papery, thin material.
They are thinner gloves.
Would it be consistent to say they look like food service gloves?
I've never worked in the food service industry, so I can't.
When you pull them out of the bag now, they've been kind of cut along the entire seam so that they're almost like a butterfly effect, spread out.
Correct.
But in your report, you document, or you and a detective or Miss Stewart document, there are some tears in the gloves. How were those documented before they were cut up for processing?
So when I collected the gloves, they were still bundled up in a ball. I did not undo the ball to photograph the condition. From what I understand, from when they were photographed at the crime lab, a tear was seen in the gloves.
So when you picked up the gloves, they were tangled up in one bundle, as you said.
They were all together in a ball.
And when you got them back, they had already been kind of cut out and kind of expanded for the
They
processing.
had been processed at the crime lab.
Okay. So you didn't ever have a chance to document kind of the condition of the gloves.
I did not.
But you are aware that there were 3 of them that came back?
I did not know how many gloves were in the bundle when I collected it.
But you are aware that 3 of them came back?
Correct.
Okay. I want to talk to you about DNA collection. The same day that you collected DNA from multiple individuals, is that right?
The only swabs that I did was on Jose.
So you didn't collect the swabs for the other individuals being tested?
No.
Okay. Are you aware of who collected those swabs?
I know I didn't collect them.
When you went to collect Mr. Ibarra's DNA, you first tried buccal swabs?
Yes.
Okay. I learned today that they're pronounced buccal, not buccal. But those are the inside of the cheek?
Correct.
Okay. And then you also did swabs around the fingernail area?
Correct.
And Ms. Stewart said that was because the fingernails were too short to be cut. Is that right?
They were too short to be cut.
Okay. And did you send those swabbings off to the lab as well?
Those, I would have to see my evidence sheet to see if they were sent off.
So you're not sure if they were sent off?
They were not tested.
Okay. That was going to be my next question. So you never got them back from the lab with a result on them?
I know they were not tested.
But you just don't know if you sent them off to be tested?
I couldn't tell you without looking at the evidence sheet.
I want to talk briefly about what you found in Diego's gray bag. You showed us a picture of cloth gloves that were in the bag.
Correct.
And it's a little hard to tell, but you would agree with me that those are not from the same pair of gloves.
No, they're 2 different style gloves.
Do they still comprise a left and a right hand, to your knowledge?
One of them is a cloth hand, a cloth glove. It's kind of like these.
Okay.
It could be on the right or the left hand.
Okay. But you never found the other 2 matching gloves that would have completed those 2 sets throughout your investigation?
Those were the only 2 gloves in the bag.
And when you're looking at items for blood, how do you do that?
Visual inspection.
Did you use any sort of, infrared lighting to see if blood was apparent on these gloves?
No, it was just visual inspection.
It was just visual inspection? Yes. Did you consider using any sort of specialized lighting or chemicals to see if there was blood on those gloves?
I can just tell you I didn't.
Okay.
I just looked at the gloves.
And those gloves were not sent off to the lab?
No.
Okay. Just a moment. Just to clarify a point of your testimony, Mr. Saunders, you said that no item collected from Diego had blood. But just to clarify, the black Adidas hat was collected from Diego, is that correct?
Yeah, I can tell you nothing in the bag that I looked through had blood that I was able to see.
Understood. Nothing else.
Just briefly, and if you felt like you needed to do more of an examination of those items from Diego's backpack, you could have sent them off, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was there anything that you saw in there, in that backpack, that made you think there was blood on any of those items?
No, there was nothing that would indicate there was blood on anything in that backpack.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Beck?
No, Your Honor.
Can he be excused?
Yes, sir.
You're excused.
Thank you.
We call your next witness.
Detective Preston Norris. Tag 175. Raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you will give today in the matter of the state of Georgia versus Jose Ibarra will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name for the record and spell it for Madam Clerk.
First name is Preston, Preston. Last name Norris, N is in November, ORRIS.
Where do you work?
University of Georgia Police.
How long have you worked there?
Going on 6 years.
What are your duties and responsibilities there?
I'm currently assigned as a sergeant in the Criminal Investigations Division.
That is your rank, and you tell us where you work, but what do you do day in and day out?
So I am now the evidence custodian and property management detective in the Detective Bureau. So I'll also oversee a group of corporal detectives and work cases that are assigned to me whenever they come in.
Were you assigned as the lead investigator in the murder of Laken Riley?
I was.
Tell us, first of all, did you respond to the scene of her murder?
I did.
What time did you get there?
Approximately 1 o'clock.
What did you do while you were there?
I assisted Sergeant Daniel Saunders. Well, he's a lieutenant now. He was the lead evidence custodian at the time. I assisted him and GBI Special Agent Daniela Stewart in processing the crime scene.
And assisting them, at some point, were you an individual or the individual that was able to locate Laken Riley's phone?
I was.
Tell the court about that process and how it is that you were able to find her phone.
Okay, so we were unable to find her phone that entire day. We had evidence that showed that it was still in the area based on what her roommates were saying, that it was still pinging near where the body was found. And we also had live pings coming from Verizon, which was the cell phone provider that Laken had. So we knew it was still in the area. We believed it may be under where her body was located. So as soon as the coroner removed her body, we first searched in that area for the cell phone. It was not there. So then I started a periodic search around where the body was located. And about 25 minutes into that process, I found the phone.
Okay. By the time that you did that, what's a periodic search?
So I did like a 20-yard perimeter of where her body was found. So I went directly in front of where the body was found, looked in that area, kind of moved to the right, basically moved in a circle around the body within like 20 yards, shining my flashlight just to see if I could get anything to reflect off the light. And the phone did reflect off my flashlight.
So by the time that you were doing that, was it dark?
It was very dark.
Okay, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 171. Do you recognize that?
I do.
What is it?
This is my flex cam footage of me finding the cell phone.
And is it a fair and accurate recording of that process?
It is.
And the state would move to admit 171, request permission to publish.
No objection. 171 submitted, and you may vote.
Can we toggle back over, Your Honor?
I'm about stepped on.
Is that you that just talked?
Yes, that is my voice.
What did you say?
I almost stepped on it.
And by it, you meant?
The cell phone.
All right, so you see your flashlight. What time was this now if you look at the time on your flex cam?
In Eastern Standard Time, this is 6:56 in the evening.
And what are the white things that we see in your reflection off your light?
Dust, bugs, just stuff.
Things that are in the woods?
Yes.
So you locate the phone, and then who ends up collecting that phone?
Daniela Stewart with the GBI and Sergeant Saunders.
So how long were you at the scene the day Laken Riley was murdered?
Roughly 8.5 hours, I'd say.
And at some point, when you left, where did you go?
We were on the way back to the police station when Captain Graham received a call. In the vehicle was Captain Graham, Sergeant Saunders, and myself. He received a call from someone at ACCPD in reference to one of their officers locating a jacket at the, I refer to it as the Argo Apartments, located at 2085 South Millage Avenue. One of their officers had found a jacket that they wanted us to look at.
The Argo Apartments located there off Millage Avenue, are those located in Clarke County, Georgia?
Yes, they are.
I'm sorry, Athens-Clarke County, Georgia.
Yes.
And is that on UGA property, or is that how close is that to UGA?
It abuts UGA property, roughly 50 yards from UGA property.
So you went over there, and what happened once you got there?
So first things first, we met with Officer Zach Davis, who was the one that located the jacket. We kind of got a brief from him, what exactly what he had noticed inside the recycling dumpster. I tried to look in through the slit. I could not see anything inside the dumpster, so I climbed over the side of the dumpster to get a look at the jacket. And after I made those observations, I agreed that we needed to collect it. And once I jumped back off of the dumpster, I was kind of looking in the area for anything else that stood out to me. And when I turned to my right, I saw a video camera that was looking at me at one of the neighboring apartments.
What did you do after you saw the video camera?
I went and talked to the resident who lived in that apartment.
Did the resident allow you in?
Yes.
And what's his name for the record?
Edwin Edelinsky.
Could you spell his last name for Madam Court Reporter, please?
Edelinsky.
When he allowed you in, what did you ask, and what did you do while you were in his apartment?
I asked him if it was his apartment and if he knew if the video camera was working that was facing towards the dumpster. And he said that it was.
Yeah. Don't tell me what he said, but did he allow you to look at his video?
Yes, he did.
And did you look at his video?
I did.
From apartment B32?
Yes.
And did you collect video from apartment B32?
I did.
And I'm going to then show you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 173. Do you recognize that?
I do.
What is it?
It is a video clip that I collected from the owner of that residence.
And it is a fair and accurate recording of the video that you collected from B32.
That is correct.
State would move to admit 173.
Any objection to 173?
Judge, can I have just a second with the counsel?
Yes.
Judge, I think that this is without Mr. Edelinsky here to verify that that was captured and that the system was working appropriately, and that would not be admissible.
That's not required. It's just a matter of what he saw that day, and he reported himself that evening. So I think we have created the appropriate foundation for that.
I'll admit it over objection.
Thank you, Judge.
So, states 173, I'm going to request permission to publish. When you viewed that evening in his apartment,
Yes.
and you got a recording of it from him, correct?
Yes, he emailed it to me.
And you also saw it yourself from his device, right?
Yes, yes.
What type of camera did he have?
It was a UFI camera, EUFI.
And the thing that he emailed you was exactly the identical video that you had seen with your own eyes from his UFI camera when you were standing inside his apartment.
Yes. That's the wrong clip.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me look at the date. Oh, wait, these are the
Yeah,
wrong ones.
yeah.
Sorry. Is it the one in the middle?
It's a different
Oh, the
flash
different
drive.
one. Hold on,
Yeah.
just 1 minute. It says, guys. You obtained a lot of UFI video
Yes,
from
I did.
this one that I just showed then, which is 173. Just tell us what UFI clips these are.
These are video clips of two Hispanic males that Sophia and Lily saw the day of the murder on the 22nd.
And you obtained those as well in the same manner?
Yes, I did.
Hold on just 1 moment. We're missing a thumb drive. I can't read your handwriting. May I approach? Is that say 124?
Yeah, that's not it.
So where does that leave us with 173?
We're still going to it with that and make it relevant a little later.
Okay, so you're withdrawing 173?
No, I still want the 173 and that part of 173 as well. There were several UV clips, so I'll get him to explain which clips these are.
Okay.
And may we have...
Let me make sure I understand. All of 173 came from that apartment camera that was focused on...
That's correct. All of 173 came from apartment UFI camera from B32.
Okay.
It's just that he got several different days and different clips from that day from B32, and this one is just a different one than the one that I am looking for with the thumb drive that we cannot find right now. So 1 moment, Your Honor, because it's got to be in there somewhere.
Judge, while we're here, just I know that the state's looking to admit this. We have the same objection to this, which is that Officer Norris cannot independently verify that the system that was capturing these videos was working appropriately, and thus it's all hearsay. He doesn't know. He's not able to lay that foundation.
Well, how is it different from a homeowner that comes in and then retrieves a recording that wasn't there to see it? It's unlike a photograph where people take a photograph and you ask about a foundation, about them being able to testify that it accurately depicts the scene at the time. I don't know what the difference would be.
I think it's less about the accuracy of the scene itself, which no one could testify to who didn't actually see it themselves. It's whether or not the video that is captured, it's the same way of any other surveillance video in a bar or a gas station, anything like that, that the owner and the operator of that system has to be able to testify that the system itself was working appropriately when the recording was made, in order to lay the foundation for the video showing it is an actual video of what it's supposed to be. And so that's what the objection is, Judge.
That is absolutely not true under Georgia law. Georgia law has a statute that is aimed exactly at videos like this, and I will pull it up if I can get my computer to come up, that talks about the authentication of videos that are self-recording, like rings, like UFI, like body cam, like dash cam. And the state has made the appropriate foundation, or has met the appropriate foundation for this type of video in this case.
And it's still admitted.
And we're still turning here, but I need 1 moment, y'all. We have misplaced one thumb drive, and I really do need to go find it real quick. May we take a 5-minute break?
Yes.
It is
We have about 27 thumb drives at this point, and I cannot read his handwriting, so I need to find it briefly.
Would it help to see you step down?
Yes, may he step down as well, but it might be in our office as well. So let me, if I could.
You want me to send the jury back to the jury room while we do
That would be
this?
great. Maybe take a 5-minute break for the jury, and I will see if I can come up.
This is a flash drive. I put multiple videos on, including the video that you were looking for.
Okay, including the UPB 32 video
Yes.
that we were just talking about.
Yes, that's correct.
What other videos are also on this thumb drive?
There are also some videos from a Ring camera that was also within the apartment complex.
And then what resident did you obtain the Ring cameras from, videos?
Bethany Paisley,
What is her apartment number?
Delta 124.
How did you obtain those videos from Bethany Paisley?
We had one initial video that was collected from Bethany on the 23rd by one of our captains. I went back a few days later and obtained the rest of the videos that her Ring camera captured during the time period.
All right. And did you obtain those videos in the same way that you did the B32, meaning you showed up at her residence, you had access to her camera, and you looked at it yourself, and then you recorded them?
That's correct.
And can you testify that all the videos on State's Exhibit 174, whether it's from B32 or D124, are fair and accurate recordings of what you yourself saw on both B32 UFI and D124 Ring?
That's correct.
Say we move to Exhibit 174. Thank you.
Let me ask, is it 174 or 172?
Let me go see. I need to see at this point. It is 172.
Objection to 172. Is there one? Okay.
There is, Judge, and it's because Officer Norris is not, I have no doubt that that's what he saw on this, because I think it's what we're going to see. But the problem is whether or not he can competently testify as to where that came from, what it was recording, whether that system was operating correctly.
And I think under 249-923C, that's addressed. And I will.
Yes, thank you. That was the statute number I was looking for. Thank you. So I'm going to now, with the court's permission, publish at least one of the videos off of 172. And we're going to talk about the others from D124 a little later. But the video that I'm going to publish off of States 172 would be the UFI video from apartment B32. First of all, as I'm publishing that first video, and there are 3 videos on States 172 for the record, this is the first video on that thumb drive. Do you see the dumpster that you were at that night in States Exhibit 172 in this video?
I do.
Okay. Can you please point to it for the court using a pointer? There's a pointer right in front of you.
To your left?
This?
No.
It's old school.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
In the center of the screen?
Yes.
All right. Do you see in the UFI video a date and time at the top?
I do, yes.
What is the date? What is the time?
February 22nd, 2024 at 09:43 in the morning.
Is that complete playing the clip of the B32 UFI video from the 22nd day of February
2024 at 9:44 a.m.?
Yes.
All right, using this screen that's up is still 172 for the record. I want to ask you a series of questions about this exact location.
Okay.
And to do that, I have a map for you, which is already marked as State's Exhibit 175. And I'm going to ask if you recognize State 175.
I do, yes.
What is it?
It is a overhead map of the immediate area surrounding the intramural fields and South Millage Avenue.
And with using States 175, AG in your testimony today before the court regarding the locations surrounding this area.
Yes, it would.
State would move to admit States 175, request permission to publish for demonstrative purposes only.
No objection for this purpose, Judge.
Very well, it's admitted for that purpose.
I don't know if it's going to fit, so I think what we can do, I think we need to set it down because it's big enough. So what we're going to do is set it right here, and not use the easel because it's too big. And if you could, Detective Norris, first of all, I need to make sure that His Honor can see. Can you see?
I can. I'll stand up as I need to.
And that counsel can see. Can y'all see? Yes. And if you could step down with the court's permission, but you have to keep your voice to Madam Court Reporter, and you have to keep your voice up so that she can hear you. Show the court what we're looking at here in State 175. I want to start with, use your pointer. Where'd the pointer go? I want to start with the apartment complex that we see here in this video, the UFI video. It's at States 172. Where is that in this diagram?
The complex is right here in this area.
Okay. And where was Laken Riley's body discovered?
Right here in the intramural fields.
Okay. And there's an incident that we're going to talk about a little later, which is Building S. Where is that located in here?
This building right here.
Okay, with an S on it for the record. And then is Laken Riley's residence also depicted in here?
It is, yes.
Could you show us that?
It's 1686 Millage Avenue Extension.
All right. So distance-wise, did you measure all of these distances?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like you to tell us, for the record, the distance between Laken Riley's body and that dumpster that we see in this UFI video. What is that distance?
Roughly 450 yards.
The distance between Building S and Laken Riley's body, what is that distance?
I believe it was roughly 400 yards.
The distance between Building S and that dumpster is what?
150 yards.
Okay.
Roughly.
All right. Is there a camera, a trail cam, or was there at the time? Did the University of Georgia Police Department have a trail cam up near Building S?
Yes, we had a trailer cam set up in front of Building S at the time, around this area.
Okay, right next to where the pedestrian is depicted in this
Yes,
exhibit?
there's a bus stop that was here, and it was right in front of the bus stop in that area.
What is a trailer cam? And you can go ahead and resume your seat so Madam Court Reporter can hear you really well. What is a trailer cam?
So we have two of them in our department. You've probably seen them at department stores like Lowe's or Walmart. It's basically a set of cameras that are attached to a trailer that you can. It's a portable trailer that has cameras attached to the top of it. They usually have them at Lowe's or Walmart to prevent shoplifting.
I'm going to show you a few other state's exhibits. These are 156, 155, and 157. Ask if you recognize those.
I do, yes.
Let's take them one at a time. Let's first go with 156. What is State's 156?
This is a overhead of the Argo apartment complex.
The apartment complex that we see in this UFI video?
That's correct.
All right. The state would move to admit State's 156. State would move to admit 156.
156 is admitted.
While I'm up here, 155, what is that?
This is an overhead of the intramural fields, specifically the Oconee Forest Park area.
State would move to admit 155.
No objection to any of this.
All right, and then the state would move to admit 157 as well.
All right, they're admitted without objection.
I want to first start with 155 or 156. Would the court be able to toggle back over?
Tell us 156, which apartment complex this is.
This is the Argo apartment complex.
And I'm going to try to zoom in a little more. If I can. I don't know how this Zoom works here. No. Anyway, in this exhibit 156, can you see the dumpster that we had seen in the prior UFI video?
Can't really see the dumpster, but you can see the concrete pad that it sits on, yes.
Okay, can you point that out for the court?
It is between building B and C here. This white area is the concrete pad that the dumpster is sitting in.
How many different buildings are in this apartment complex?
5.
Okay. And what are their numbers, or letters, excuse me?
It is a A through E.
Do you, did you eventually learn in this case of where Jose Ibarra was living at this time?
Yes.
Where was he living?
Delta 126.
So show us building D in this video, or in this photograph.
It's the one labeled D right here at the top of the picture.
Okay, and before I go back to the UFI video, well, in the UFI video, we see the individual dump the jacket and then walk towards the bushes and then walk away.
Yes.
In what direction was that person walking?
Walking towards building E in the northeast area of the dumpster.
Okay. Would that be towards building D?
Yes. Building D is also in that direction.
All right. Are there cut-throughs, or sometimes called cuts, between the apartment complex and the road that we see on the edge of 156?
Yes, there are 2 main cut-throughs.
Tell us, first of all, what is the road that we see?
Millage Avenue Extension.
Okay. Is that the same road that Laken Riley lived on?
Yes.
All right. How do you get from the apartment complex onto Millage Avenue Extension?
The easiest way would be through one of the 2 cut-throughs.
Show us the cut-throughs.
The first one is between building C and D. Right here, there's a little cut-through area here. And then the second is between B and C where the dumpster is. That's another cut-through.
Where's building S in this photograph, and what direction?
It's up here.
All right. At the very top?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. And when I say building S, I mean building S at the University of Georgia housing.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. State's exhibit. Oh, I'm going to go on that for a minute. I want to go to building D. So you said that he lived in D126.
Yes.
Did you meet the neighbors, his neighbors, at D125 and 124?
I did, yes.
Will you tell the court when you met them, how you met them?
I met them on February 26th. That is when I met Bethany Paisley, the resident of 124, and I gathered her ring video that was captured on the 21st, the 22nd, and the 23rd. And then I also met with the resident of 125. He also had a camera that captured photographs in the window of his apartment, so I also met with him and obtained some photos from him.
Did you obtain those photos from him in the same manner in which you obtained the ring video and the UFI video?
Yes.
Did you stand in his apartment, look at the camera, and take the photos?
Yes.
I'll get to the photos in a minute. The UFI video that we just saw, was it sent to the GBI Cyber Center for enhancement?
It was, yes.
And is there one image that they were able to do is enhance it and slow down parts of that video?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, if you could toggle back over, I'm going back to 172. Okay. 1 minute. It started too fast. I'm back it up. What are we looking at here in 172?
This is the GBI Cyber Forensics slowed down and enhanced version of the same video we watched earlier.
From B1 or from B32?
That's correct.
So going back to States 172, you had a folder in there, ring videos from D124.
Yes.
That would be the neighbor, Bethany, that you've already told us about. I'm going to publish some of her videos, but I'm going to do it one at a time. So this ring.com video, do you see the date and time in the corner of it?
I do, yes.
And could you please tell us that for the record?
February 22nd, 2024 at 10:21 a.m. And that is Eastern Standard Time.
In what direction was that person walking in that video that we just saw?
It'd be south in the apartment complex towards a dumpster.
Okay. And that dumpster that they were walking in the direction of, did you all search that dumpster?
Yes, we did.
And did you find anything related to this crime in that dumpster?
We did not. We later learned that it had been dumped approximately 45 minutes after this video was taken.
Okay.
It had been picked up by the trash service.
Next ring on D124, what's the date and time of this one?
This one is February 19th, 2024 at 02:02 a.m.
And this is what, the next video, what is this date?
This is February 21st, 2024, around midnight 21.
Okay, do you recognize the person in this video, this clip?
Yes, that is Diego Ibarra.
Okay. The next one, I'm going to pause it real quick while it's running. What is the date and time of this one?
February 21st, 2024 at midnight 31.
And do you recognize the person in this video?
That is Jose Ibarra. And that is Diego Ibarra.
All right, now stop this one. Is it the 5th video? What's the date and time of this one?
February 21st, 2024 at 7:02 p.m.
All right, do you see the shirt in that video?
I do, yes.
And have you seen that shirt before?
Yes, I have.
And where did you see that shirt?
This is the shirt that Jose Ibarra was wearing in the B-32 video that captured him discarding the jacket in the dumpster.
Is he also wearing a hat in this video?
Yes, he is.
And what type of hat is it?
It is a flat bill style hat.
And stopping the next video, what's the date and time of this one?
February 21st, 2024 at 9:04 p.m.
What is in his hand?
I believe it's a cell phone.
And does he have a bag on in this video?
Yes, a crossbody sling bag.
Okay, can you point that bag out for the court, please?
This bag is right here across his body.
And in your investigation into this case and the searches that you all conducted, did you ever find that bag?
We did not.
The shirt that he's wearing in this video, did you ever find that shirt?
We did not.
Date and time of this, I believe our 5th clip?
February 21st, 2024, 9:07 p.m.
And who is this person?
Jose Ibarra.
And now what is he wearing?
That is the blue jacket that we wound up finding in the B-32 dumpster that had been discarded.
And the last clip?
February 22nd, 2024 1:35 a.m.
And I may have to back it up for this, but what's he wearing in this video?
The blue jacket, the flat bill hat, pants and slides.
When you say slides, what do you mean by slides?
Slide on basketball shoes. Open toe.
How much video did you look at from D124?
All of the videos she provided me with, I believe they went through February 19th of 2024 through February 23rd, 2024. So over 4 days.
And were you looking for both Diego Ibarra and Jose Ibarra?
Yes, I was looking for all of the residents of the apartment, 126.
You said that also the neighbors at 125 had a camera as well.
Yes, that's correct.
And instead of a video camera, it was a still camera.
That's correct.
And you explained to us how you collected images from that camera.
I spoke to the resident that lived there, and he allowed me to send the pictures that were captured from that video camera to myself through email.
And is that what you did?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes as States Exhibits 158 through 162 and ask you a series of questions. If you could look at those for me, please. Do you recognize those items?
I do, yes.
What are they?
These are the some of the photos that I gathered from the resident of 125.
And are they fair and accurate depictions of the photos that you collected that day from the resident?
Yes.
State we move to admit 158 through 165? 62.
Subject to the same objection, but I think there's a foundational problem here.
I'll admit it over objection.
And may I publish?
Yes.
Could you please toggle back over, Your Honor? Start first with $162. It's stuck. Why is it stuck? Try again. I think it's warming up. It should be up again. Okay, if we toggle back over, it's up. It should be working. Great. What is 162?
This is a picture that depicts Jose Ibarra without the bag that I saw him with 3 minutes prior in their ring video.
What's the date and time of that?
February 22nd, 2024, 10:24 a.m.
$159. What does this depict, and what's the date and time?
The date and time is February 21st, 2024 at 9:35 p.m. and that is Jose Ibarra with the blue jacket and the black and white Adidas cap.
So unlike the ring footage from D124, the still photos are actually in color.
Yes, you can actually see the colors of the images.
And do these color images line up timestamp wise with the Ring doorbell video or the Ring video? It's not
Yes,
doorbell.
they do.
Okay. So States Exhibit 160, date and time?
February 21st, 2024, 11:44 p.m.
What is depicted in that photo?
That is Jose Ibarra wearing the gray and black T-shirt with the crossbody sling bag.
161.
February 22nd, 2024, 1:34 a.m. And that is Jose Ibarra with the sling bag and the blue jacket, which you can't see his face in this one, but it lines up with the Ring video that was captured at 1:35.
Okay, so if you look at the Ring video at the same time and compare the same,
Yes, because he is walking in that direction.
And 158.
February 21st, 2024, 7:08 p.m. And that is Jose Ibarra carrying the blue jacket the same way he was carrying it in the B-32 video.
Did you conduct other video review in this case?
I did. I've watched hundreds of hours of video for this case.
State's Exhibit 157, I want you to explain to the court, in general terms, and maybe we'll drill down, but in general terms, what videos did you watch and why?
So the ones that are not depicted on this photo, I watched surrounding business video that was in the area of Millage Avenue and Macon Highway, which was the Shell gas station, the Chevron gas station, the Waffle House, and a liquor store, I believe it's Tall Boy Package Store. I watched all of our video footage, exterior and interior cameras, February 22nd, 2024, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. that day. And then this photo depicts the UGA campus security camera map. So all the little camera icons that you see on this map, at each of those locations there are 4 different cameras. And I watched all of the video cameras from those areas.
It's hard to see on the screen or on that. I have a different way of showing this image 157 on the screen. And so if the court could just toggle over, I'll show 157 on the screen. That will be easier for everyone to see. There we go. Is that also 157, just a little easier to see?
Yes, it's just the digital file.
All right, so if you could use the digital file of 157, it's easier to see, and show the court where are all the cameras in and around the intramural fields that you looked at.
This first camera here is Millage Avenue Extension by University Village. We have 3 buildings here, T, U, and V, so it kind of watches these buildings as well as the crossing this intersection here.
Okay, hold on a second. I'll have to do this in phases because the whole image can't be picked up. Go ahead.
This camera here is located at East Campus Road at Rogers Road.
I'm going to have to move your microphone because it's hard to hear you. I think Madam Court Reporter's having a hard time hearing you.
Yes.
So if you can keep your voice up.
Yep. So this the second camera is at East Campus Road and Rogers Road. There's 4 camera angles at that location.
Okay, next camera.
This is located at East Campus Road at Agriculture Drive.
Okay.
This one is East Campus Road at College Station Road. This one is College Station Road at River Road. And then we also have cameras set up in the intramural fields in the parking deck.
And there's one more camera that was cut off because of the digital file.
Yeah, the trailer camera that I mentioned earlier, this is where it was located at in front of Building S on UGA property.
So you watched how much video from all of these cameras that we see in States 157?
All of these cameras we downloaded that morning, 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. I've watched the majority of these cameras. One other detective helped me watch 2 or 3 of them, but I watched most of the video from these cameras.
Okay, and the other detective that watched the other ones is named?
Sergeant Rabu.
Okay, Sophie Rabu?
Yes.
All right, so between the 2 of you, you watched from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. on what day?
February 22nd, 2024.
Okay, if you could have a seat, please. And in watching and looking at all of the cameras that you saw that day, we'll talk about the trailer cam separately with Detective Rabu. But did you ever see Diego Ibarra?
I did not.
Okay. And other than the trailer cam that we're going to talk about with Detective Rabu, did you see Jose Ibarra beyond that camera?
Yes. Okay.
We have a...
may proceed.
Thank you. Besides the trailer cam that I will talk about separately with Detective Rabu, did you see Jose Ibarra?
I did not.
And did you also look between 6 a.m. and 1 p.m. for any other people who might have been suspicious, may have been up to no good?
Yes, that was the main point of the.
Okay. And did you investigate and follow up any of the things of interest for you from all of that camera review?
Yes.
And one. Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Detective
Hey, Mr.
Norris.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm just. Are you considered the lead detective on this case? Is that the position that you took?
Yes.
Okay. Would it have been your job to make any DNA requests on collected evidence in the case?
In this particular case, Sergeant Saunders handled most of the evidence that was collected.
Okay.
And requesting tests from the GBI.
Did you make any requests?
I did not.
Okay. But as part of your job as lead investigator, it would be your job to review everything, correct?
Yes, I have reviewed everything.
Okay. And to make any additional requests that hadn't been accomplished?
Correct.
Okay. And there were swabs taken of Laken Riley's telephone, is that correct? Swabs for DNA?
I did not collect those swabs.
But you're aware of the swabs being taken as lead
Yes.
investigator, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Were those swabs sent to the GBI for examination?
I do not believe so.
Okay. And so you do not know what's on those swabs,
No.
correct? All right. And you did not ask for those to be examined?
I did not.
Okay. There were swabs taken from the fingernails of Jose Ibarra, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what were those swabs taken for?
To compare DNA that was collected at the scene.
Okay. And were those swabs tested by the GBI as part of this case?
I believe so.
They were?
I'm not 100% certain at this moment, no, sir.
Okay. But you testified that you had reviewed everything. And so is it just a matter of looking back over your report, or is it just a matter of...
This is a very weird scenario. I am the lead investigator, but there were many moving parts here.
Sure.
I did review everything at one point in time, and everything that was pertinent to the case, I was made aware of at that time.
Okay.
I can't recall every single test that was done by the GBI and what those tests, what the results of those tests were.
Okay. You don't personally recall ever requesting or reviewing any results from the swabbings of the fingernails of Jose Ibarra?
I have reviewed them at one point in time, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And do you know who did those swabbings?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay. And do you know who tested those swabbings?
No, sir, I did not.
And do you know what those results were?
No, sir.
So you don't know if they were positive for Laken Riley's DNA or not?
I do not know, sir.
That would certainly be an important fact to remember, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And that would certainly be something as lead investigator that you would remember, correct?
That's correct.
Is it possible that these weren't tested?
It is possible.
Okay.
I do not recall all of the tests that were done. There were a magnitude of tests that were done in this case.
Certainly it would be something to remember, right?
Sure.
Okay. as to these videos,
Good? Okay.
okay, sorry, Jeff. The videos that were introduced on your direct examination, those were not your videos, correct?
Correct.
You didn't own the cameras that were
No,
used
sir,
to
I
take
did not own any of
Okay.
those cameras.
They're not UGA videos?
No, sir.
Okay. So, aside from what you were told by these two individuals, is it Mr. Edelinsky
Yes.
and Miss
Paisley.
Paisley? Okay. So, aside from what you were told by them, do you have any independent knowledge about how these cameras work?
I've met with Mr. Edelinsky and Miss Paisley. I cannot explain to you exactly how those cameras work.
Okay.
That would have to be something that they would do.
As part of your investigation in this case, you're kind of someone who is overseeing other officers. There's a lot of other investigators and detectives and crime scene people that you're kind of overseeing. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. Reviewing things and making sure that everything gets done correctly. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so a lot of the you're not doing a lot of the actual investigation in this case, but you're helping out where you can and you're doing your part, but there's a lot of things that are that you're kind of overseeing.
Correct. There were a lot of moving parts in this investigation.
Okay. You did do some investigation into the use of Jose Ibarra's phone, did you not?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And as part of that investigation, you came to learn that it was not just Mr. Ibarra who was using that phone. Is that right?
I learned that in October of 2023 it was possible that someone else was using that phone. That's correct.
Okay. And in fact, 2 or 3 other individuals. Is that right?
2 that I know of. Yes.
2 other individuals.
Yes. Besides Jose. Yes.
Okay. And that was for the main phone number that you all were investigating that was supposed to be linked to Mr. Ibarra. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And that number began with 347-358?
Yes, that sounds correct.
Okay. Judge, could I have just another question? And so just to clarify that number, the number that you all were looking at the time was 347-358-3978. Is that
yes,
right?
that sounds correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all the questions I have, Judge.
October of 2023 is how much prior to the murder of Laken Riley?
that'd be 4 months prior.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Anything else? Mr. Kirby?
Judge, nothing right now.
Okay, well. Can he be excused?
Potentially, actually, I'd asked to hold him for a potential rebuttal for just whatever comes down the road. So I'm just going to ask that he still abide by, well, I don't want to invoke the rule, but I have told all my witnesses to abide by the rule of sequestration.
Okay. You may step down and take instructions from whoever brought you here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge.
All right. We'll stop for today. My plan would be, as soon as the lights come back on, to talk about 8:30 Monday morning. Anything else we need to take up before we do that?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to expand a little bit on our objection to this camera and this microphone in front of me, and also bring Your Honor's attention to another issue that came up over lunch regarding the live stream. So as Your Honor knows, we've objected to cameras in the courtroom. Your Honor has overruled it so that the public can have access to this trial. We objected to it being live streamed. Your Honor overruled it so the public could have access to this trial. We objected to there being 2 cameras in the courtroom. Again, Your Honor has overruled us for the purpose of the public having access to the trial. I think that this camera being where it is a bridge too far. No member of the public who sat in this courtroom would be sitting here looking at us, looking at the defense counsel table with a microphone pointed toward the defense counsel table. Your Honor asked us to let me know if it was intrusive. I can tell you it was. I myself was personally distracted multiple times when it moved. And also we were...
So I just didn't understand what you just said.
Sorry. Your Honor asked if it was intrusive, and it was. I myself was distracted multiple times when it moved. It's on some sort of automatic thing. It will, when we stand up, it will swivel or someone will turn it. But it is distracting. There's a microphone pointed towards our table. That microphone, I've been told, is live. I do not think we need to have this camera here. No one, like I said, no one in the public is going to have this shot if they were watching. That's something that Your Honor would have and the bailiff, and that's it. And it does discourage, in some ways, some consultation with Mr. Ibarra. It discourages consultation among the attorneys. I know Your Honor was kind of stuck because that's how it was set up today. I'm just asking, when we reset the courtroom for Monday, if we could either take it down or at least remove the mic. You know, this isn't about giving the news the best media shot of Mr. Ibarra at all times. That's not what the purpose of having the courtroom open to the public is. They should get the same view that anyone who is in here watching the trial should get, which is from the galley. And then the second thing I want to tell Your Honor is that, I mean, part of the problem with having live mics and live streams is that even if the media are trying their very best to honor Your Honor's instructions, there are mistakes. And so I wanted to report to Your Honor that one such mistake happened over the lunch break. Our colleague was reviewing the live stream and noticed that the first photo of Laken Riley when she's found at the crime scene made it onto the live stream. And I just give that as an example for, you know, this idea that they can be so quick on the draw of cutting out the live stream and cutting off the mics is a
If you
fiction.
would, slow down for just a minute.
Sorry.
The photo that made it onto the live stream, was it her that when she was found?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I wasn't clear to me.
Is that actually the video?
I didn't hear Mr. Wilson's questions. All I can tell you is that our colleague said the very first photo of Miss Riley that they showed at the crime scene made it onto the live stream such that she was able to watch it.
Can I ask, do you know if it was a photograph or a video?
I believe it was a photo. It was one of the crime scene photos that was put on the Elmo and then made it to the live stream. And so I just say that to explain that, you know, our fears and objections here are not based on nothing. This has happened in the past where they've captured our voices on after a hearing is done. It happened today. So we are going to be renewing our objections and at the least asking Your Honor to reconsider this setup right in front of us.
Do you want to be heard, Ms. Ross?
Your Honor, I have been working all day, so I've not had a chance to review the live stream. I'll investigate that over the weekend and let Your Honor know if we believe that it happened and is an issue. We can address it at that time. But I support defense counsel and their position on that particular camera.
So I want to think about it over the weekend too, but I'll go ahead and tell you what my thought is right now. And that is removing the direct camera and microphone that is right here. I say that because I take Ms. Beck's point that if the purpose is to allow people to be in, like if they were in the gallery, they wouldn't be right here. I think that's an excellent point and a valid point. Someone would have to convince me, and I'm not asking anybody to stand up and try to convince me, I would have to be convinced some way that that is necessary over and above what you have, the one camera that takes everybody in. But I'll give some thought to that. I may ask some questions between now and then, but I'll give some thought to that.
Yes, sir.
And certainly I will try to figure out if there was an error made. I'll try to figure that out too.
Yes, Your Honor.
But can I ask, I assume we're going to have some more, there's going to be some medical examiner photos. Is that going to be, can you say at this point, is that going to be the extent of that sort of evidence?
There are probably just a few more stray photos regarding her clothing, the positioning of her clothing. There are still shots that were made from Maxwell's body cam, but other than that, in the medical examiner, that should be it. Yes, sir.
All right. Anything else?
Only to say that that the state has submitted a list of witnesses who don't want to be filmed. We have not yet consulted with the defense witnesses, so we'd like to have the opportunity to send that list if we have any, but no objection to the state's request on those witnesses.
All right. All right. 8:30 Monday. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all can wait just a moment.